by being Chief Minister of Jammu and Kashmir.
The sentiment of the people of the valley.
Please, Sankarshan, that's all right. I understood your point here, but please now let me come in,
minds in the valley. You don't have hearts and minds in the valley.
So fine, one minute,
Sankarshan. It's a very difficult job to fly the Indian flag in the valley.
I understand your point.
One second. For political gains, and then you will alienate the people of Jammu and Kashmir.
Okay, so Mr. Rana, will you take a question or make a speech? Will you take my question, Mr. Rana? People are watching you, Mr. Rana. People are watching you. Will you take a question?
Absolutely.
Will you take a question? Will you take a question, Mr. Rana? Then let me put my question to you. I have one very simple question. And I am going to ask that one question now to Mr. Rana, who keeps saying 370 is for the people of Jammu and Kashmir, people of Jammu and Kashmir, okay? So, Mr. Rana, now I will ask you just one question, which in my view will prove whether you are using or misusing Article 370 and whether you are truthful or dishonest when you say you are pushing this as a political issue or... No, 1 minute. I am not passing judgment. I am only asking a question. It will prove.
You know it.
No, I am asking a question. 73rd Amendment, Mr. Rana, hear me closely. 73rd Amendment to the Indian Constitution pertaining to Panchayati Raj, which empowers elected village representatives, the same representatives of the Panchayati Raj system in Jammu and Kashmir, who terrorists from Pakistan kill and make innocent victims. Mr. Rana, now let me complete. Is it true that it took 22 years from 1992, when the amendment was made, far back in 1992, till February 2014, when the Jammu and Kashmir cabinet decided to incorporate the provisions of the 73rd Amendment of the Indian Constitution to the Panchayati Raj? 22 years for a legislation that should have been done immediately to strengthen those people.
What was happening in the valley in 1992?
Let me ask, answer the question. Why are you answering for him, Sankarshan?
What was the state of the valley in 1992?
Let Sankarshan, let him answer.
You are fighting an insurrection.
It doesn't take 22 years, Sankarshan.
Let me answer it, sir.
Answer.
Will you allow me to answer?
Answer.
Political inexperience.
Answer. Why are you taking so much time?
And the lack of acumen of the National Conference government, which has been in place most of the time.
Okay, Samir, let him answer that.
And they did it now.
Even Omar Abdullah's government held the Panchayati elections after 3 decades in Jammu and Kashmir. And it is a history by itself.
22 years.
Number 2,
we have
the
seen
Panchayati elections, when they were held, we have our own, in our constitution, a very robust Panchayati Raj Act.
Now I will ask you a second question.
And has been used.
Now I will ask you a second question. Take a question. Will you take my question? Will you take my question? Will you take a question?
And when certain things
will you take a question? 1 minute. I'm asking a question now.
Rather than admitting that you did it so late,
will you take a question?
You continue to defend it.
Which is a benchmark.
Will you take a question?
You
continue to defend
question number 2.
Rather than saying sorry.
Question number 2. Question number 2. Samir Kaul, let me ask the question.
It is shameful.
On the various functionaries of the Panchayati.
The second question for you, Mr. Rana. Take a question.
This is honesty.
Take a question, Mr. Rana. Take a question.
How many questions, Mr. Goswami?
2 questions. 2. Just 2. Just 2. Are you scared?
Mr.
Just 2 questions.
Any amount of questions.
Just 2 questions tonight, Mr. Rana, to you.
Please remember one thing, Mr.
2 questions. Second question. Second question. Second question. I have limited time. Take the question.
If you want to tangle me into a legal...
I am not tangling you. Question number 2. Question number 2. Question number 2.
Preserves my identity, the identity of Jammu and Kashmir, and provides Jammu and Kashmir the
question number 2
and autonomy.
Question number 2
has been guaranteed to me by the Parliament of India.
Question number 2
of the Union of
is the last question. I have 2 minutes to go. Let me take the second question.
I agree with you, sir.
Mr. Rana, question 2. No, 1 minute.
People of Jammu
question 2. Question 2. Question 2. Just Mr. Rana, one quiet for a minute, please. 1 second. My second question to Mr. Rana. Mr. Kaul, Mr. Kaul, don't. Mr. Kaul, don't, please. Mr. Rana is taking question number 2.
No, I'm just...
No, Mr. Kaul, no, I have limited time.
That's all I'm saying.
Did I pass the first question?
Question 2. 1 second, Mr. Rana. I am not giving you fail or pass.
No, sir.
Question number 2 to Mr. Rana, and listen to me. If you speak over the question, you won't hear it. Question number 2, to check whether Article 370 is serving the people of Jammu and Kashmir or actually working against them. Here is the question. Mr. Rana, thank you. Nice to see you smile. 1 second, just be quiet. Is it true, Mr. Rana, Jammu and Kashmir has its own Right to Information Act, But Article 370,
Yes.
Article 370 has meant you have the right to amend it as you want. Is it true that your amendments to the... Oh, 1 minute, let me complete. Question 2.
Jammu and Kashmir has a unique status.
Is it true, Mr. Rana, that your amendments to the Jammu and Kashmir Right to Information Act in 2012 invited very serious criticism for diluting the powers of the State Information Commissioner? The autonomy, I quote, the autonomy you have served, the autonomy that you got only served to hurt and not strengthen transparency.
It is a continuous process.
Continuous
where the
process.
people are asked to give their suggestions and amendments made in the Constitution.
I think the issue is up there in you.
Pinky Anand would be able to throw light on it. Any constitution is a dynamic process, and as the changes evolve and the suggestions come,
please, for God's sake, the Constitution is dynamic, but the Constitution has mandated that Article 370 is temporary and requires consideration. I don't think forever you can sit on it and say Kashmir should have its own separate identity. Kashmir is an integral part of India, and I think that's where you require the development to take place.
Amee Yajnik, my last question to you is... watch it. Amee Yajnik, my last question to the Congress party, which has only taken one question so far. Amee Yajnik, why don't you tell your ally... Why don't you tell your ally... Mr. Amee Yajnik, 1 second. Amee Yajnik, why don't you tell your ally today to proceed with maturity? Not to do this. And to use words like you're playing with fire, etc. Why don't you tell? Don't tell me they have their own mind. People are watching the Congress party too.
Arnab,
Yes.
can they not respond to a very designed, full of intent statement by the BJP?
Is it not just response? He is daring our integrity.
Of course, the Chief Minister has responded. And why should he not? Because he knows the state better. Why should I tell Mr. Rana what he should do?
Amarnath Shrine Board issue, he has made such statement.
In a certain way.
Similar statement.
There is a response by the Jammu and Kashmir state to the statement made so blatantly.
Your partner is making divisive statement and you are not able to condemn it.
This is not only for Jammu and Kashmir.
This is your double speak.
The country that has taken
You are condemning BJP, but you are not daring to condemn Mr. Abdullah.
I think
the design is polarization, design is divisive, design is trifurcation.
From Mr. Abdullah.
And then I dare
Please tell me whose design is that?
Both are divisive.
I think
Arnab,
Mr. Rana,
Goswami, both are divisive.
Mr. Rana, don't ignite a controversy where one has not started. And having ignited the controversy, don't then say that the flames have gone too high. Thank you very much for joining me on debate number 1 on the Newshour tonight.